doing it intentionally. So
they
Iran
know, Mario. They
retaliates in
attack.
kind on the Gulf.
They attacked Iranian. The South Pars. LNG in Iran. What was the reaction from Iran? What was the reaction? Iran hit all of these Arab states together with Israel. So
Yeah,
do you really
one.
believe that they would assume something else coming out of Iran? Any or other response coming? They want Iran to destroy all of these countries, because as much as you destroy these countries, they're going to be more dependent on the United States in a long run.
Funny enough, while you're speaking, it started just before our interview. Air defense activity over multiple areas in the UAE. That's happening on a daily basis, nothing significant. Because I'm just referring to it now because you've mentioned earlier that today could be, or this week or today could be a bad night or bad week for the UAE. I've got another question for you. Back to the topic of the Houthis. Why join now?
Because it seems that the war is getting to a new level. What does it mean? It means ground invasion of some islands in the Persian Gulf, in the Strait of Hormuz. And what does Iran want from Houthis is to control the air, control somehow. As we see, the Houthis started hitting the southern part of Israel. And the first missile went to Israel to attack Israel. But the whole concept of Houthis joining the fight is to control these Arab states, Saudi Arabia and UAE. And as time goes by, they're going to hit targets in Saudi Arabia as well, or in UAE, or in Kuwait, or Bahrain.
That's what I was thinking.
This is, and the long strategy is that finally we're going to see not only the Strait of Hormuz, but Bab al-Mandab being closed by the Yemenis, by Ansarullah. And this is not going to be just because Iran is not closed. The Strait of Hormuz is not closed. Iran is letting some friendly countries to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. But after all, the calculation would be to control both Bab al-Mandab and the Strait of Hormuz. This is going to be one of the basic outcomes of this war.
Ooh. That's going to crush energy markets.
Energy market, Mario, the future is mostly, Iran is, we know that how they're hitting Iran. Last night, they were hitting a lot of, buildings in Tehran, in Isfahan, in Yazd. Huge casualties on the part of civilians. But in terms of the military might of Iran, they're not getting anywhere with that. So Iran sees all strategically. What is the end game? Staying in the fight and being able to fire back and keep what they have, what they already have, which would be the Strait of Hormuz and Bab al-Mandab joining. So sooner or later, the United States they don't have a lot of ammunition. The Gerald Ford, USS Gerald Ford is just, they're leaving the region, in my opinion. And that's why we have the other aircraft carrier coming to the region. And George W. Bush is coming to the region. But it takes time to get to the region. And Iran is playing a long game, and they don't have any sort of rush. They're not in a hurry to go after, Arab states. I think after all, they're talking as we're doing this podcast today. There are huge discussions in Iran how to hit targets in the Arab states and Israel in order not to make the Arab states more dependent on the United States. Because Iran has, many people don't know what is happening in the Middle East. Iran doesn't consider any of these Arab states as its enemy. They're not the enemy.
And they're being struck as a necessity.
No, they don't see them as enemy. They don't see Turkey as enemy. And what has happened, Mario, I think we have to consider this, what has happened in Palestine, in Gaza. The outcome of what has happened in Gaza has changed many people, or these, I see the far right in Iran, or the left, right in Iran, they have changed their mindset toward what's going on in the whole region. They see that they don't see this division between Sunni and Shia. It's not there anymore. This was a game for such a long time to divide the whole region in two sectors to fight each other instead of, joining and working for the prosperity of the region. The prosperity of the region, Mario, is not going to be joining the United States, getting closer to the United States and Israel. I think that shows
there's a different scenario. The UAE just reaffirmed I think a multi-trillion-dollar investment plan with the US, and Saudi. I think I read today that they did another big military deal with buying. I think Trump put it in a speech, mentioned how Saudi's buying more fighter jets. From the US, which means that dependence will continue. That even though they're upset at what's happening right now, there could be a deal behind the scenes, Nima. There could be a deal right now. Let's say the UAE could take control of the Abu Musa Island and the other two, the Littler and
how can they do that?
If the US goes ahead and if they continue bombing Iran, I understand Iran exceeded expectations, but they are facing the world's biggest military. If they continue bombing Iran, I don't think regime change will succeed. Regime change through air operations just does not work. But in terms of degrading the military to an extent where Iran's capabilities to be able to stop an American invasion and control of these islands, if the US is ready to take on casualties, I don't think they are, by the way. If the US is ready to take on casualties, then there could be a deal where the US uses some of these Gulf countries as a launch, as a launch base for an invasion of these islands, and then long term they'd be doing a deal with those Gulf countries to take control of these islands, and you've just literally split Iran and those countries for decades to come, because you've just taken Iranian territory and given it to those countries that claim this is their territory.